So, the big news the last couple of days has been the new Linux Code of Conduct. The reason that's been the big news, of course, is because the free and open source communities have kind of just exploded and really torn itself apart over the reaction from many about the new code of conduct that the Linux kernel team has adopted. There's been a lot of heated and rigorous debate, really a lot of arguing on the internet, on mailing lists, forums, Reddit, YouTube, social media, Twitter, what have you. And there's been a lot of vile and hateful crap just spewed in every direction. So really this video is going to be a little different, but I really just want to personally ask all of you that have taken part in this debate. Are you proud of your actions? Are you proud of the way you have acted during all of this? Think about the things you have posted on things like YouTube or Reddit or Twitter or what have you, dealing with this. Are you proud of your actions? If you observe yourself as a third party, are you proud? Or, if you're being honest, how many of you are embarrassed or ashamed at some of what you've posted on the internet in the last couple of days? Getting back to the whole code of conduct thing, though, one thing I did want to mention, because my previous video on the code of conduct, I mentioned I had no problem with the kernel team adopting that new code of conduct. And some of you asked, how could I not have a problem with that particular code of conduct? The reason I don't have a problem with that particular code of conduct, I don't have a problem with any code of conduct that the kernel team adopts, because it's their right to adopt any code of conduct they want, right? I'm not a kernel developer. I'm not a part of that team. I'm not in any kind of position of power with the Linux Foundation, right? So if their organization, wants to adopt a code of conduct, it's basically their house, their rules, right? They can adopt any set of rules they want. And if I want to go play in that house, guess what? I have to follow their rules, right? It's the same as, you come over to my house. I'm going to set down some rules, some guidelines. If you don't follow them, you're going to have to leave, right? It's my house, my rules. It's the sensible thing to do, right? The sensible thing to do is when you're in somebody else's domain, follow their rules. If you can't do that, you need to leave. That's generally how it works, in life with sensible human beings. All right. We do this out of respect. I wouldn't come over to your house and act like a complete jackass. If I do, you're going to tell me to leave. And guess what? When you tell me to leave, I'm going to leave because, that's just what we do. This is just how we are as a species. So again, if you enter my domain and refuse to play by my rules, guess what? You're getting booted. I expect the same thing from the kernel team. They get to set whatever rules they want at their house. I get to set whatever rules I want at my house. There's nothing to get angry over. So that is part of why I said I didn't have a problem with the kernel's team's code of conduct. It's because I don't even care what code of conduct they adopt. They can adopt whatever. I'm not part of the kernel development team. So I don't get wrapped up in all of this, to be honest. Really, a code of conduct is not necessary. I've stated this in earlier videos about FreeBSD when they were having their code of conduct debate. Code of conducts, in my opinion, are not even necessary. Again, we as human beings, we know how to treat each other. But those that want to adopt some kind of code of ethics or a code of conduct, it's their right to do it. And who are you to get angry, especially if you're not even involved, with that particular organization? And that is my problem. Is that some of you guys, for some reason, this common sense approach of how we respect others and other people's domain, some of you think that this is up for debate. Why? Why is this up for debate? The real question is, why are you guys angry about things like a certain organization's code of conduct? Why does it make you angry? Well, the answer is simple. If you are angry, it means you are taking things personally. Anytime you get angry, every single time you've ever been angry, it's because you took something personally. That's why you get angry. So if you're angry over the Linux code of conduct, guess what? You're taking that code of conduct as a personal attack on yourself. Why? I mean, how vain are you to think that the Linux kernel team adopted that code of conduct just to make you mad? You've got real issues if you're wired and think that way. Because 99.9% of you guys that are angry over this, that are complaining about the Linux code of conduct, you've never, ever contributed any code at all to the kernel. 99.9% of you easily have never contributed code to the Linux kernel. So why are you mad about any of this? Why are you taking any of this personally? You're not even a part of that organization. The truth of why you are angry, why you're taking things personal, well, it's a bitter truth, but I think many of you guys need to hear it. If you're honest with yourself, you'll know this is true. If you're angry, anger is a reflection of yourself. Think about that. Anger is a reflection of yourself. Some of you are, going to retort, well, how can you not be angry? This crap makes me so mad. Calm down and realize anger is a reflection of yourself. The trick to no longer taking, any of this stuff personally is this: observe yourself objectively. That's why I'm asking you, are you guys proud of your actions in the last couple of days? Try to observe how a third party would observe your actions. Think about some of that vile, nasty stuff you posted on Twitter or Reddit or whatnot, or if you did something face-to-face to somebody, think of how a third party, an objective third party, not how you think about it, how an objective third party would see that. Many of you would be ashamed. Many of you would be very ashamed and would probably, hopefully, try to change yourself a little bit in the future. Try to, kind of like Linus is stepping back to kind of work on his behavior. I hope some of you really think about this. Some of you guys really need to step away from the internet for a little while and work on your behavior. Just, step away from the keyboard slowly. Just get up and just go. Because some of you, I know if you really looked at your actions, you have to be ashamed if you're being objective. Now, most of you cannot look at yourselves objectively. Most of you refuse to because, to be honest, looking at yourself objectively is painful. Because if you look at yourself objectively, you're going to see, again, what a jackass you really are. I mean, let's be honest. Looking at yourself in an objective way, it's going to damage your ego. It's going to hurt bad. Most people are not going to do that. Most people would rather, be stuck with a needle than look at themselves objectively as far as how they act. It is that painful. But you can train yourself to do it, and when you train yourself to do it, you will grow as a person. You'll become a better person. You'll become better emotionally. You'll become better physically. You'll become, of course, a better person spiritually. Speaking of spiritually, think of all the great spiritual leaders of history. When you read about the great spiritual leaders like Jesus or Buddha, or even like modern spiritual leaders and modern, spiritual gurus, how do they act? Do they act anything the way like some of you acted the last couple of days on the internet? No. You never read stories about Jesus or Buddha acting like complete jackasses the way many of us do, especially on the internet, but even offline, in our daily lives. Why is this? It's because they don't take things personally, right? That is really the trick to being, a spiritual person, is to never take things personally. You guys that, of course, are Christians, you might know the quote in the Bible about, do not judge lest ye be judged. And, what is that about? It's about taking things personally. That's all that's about. And once you get that figured out, really, you've got life figured out. So many of you guys are worried about this code of conduct. You basically want to force the Linux team to change their code of conduct when you're not even involved with the Linux team. Why? Think about that. Why are you worried about changing what other people are doing? When you're worried about changing what other people are doing, well, guess who are you not focused on? You're not focused on yourself at all. You're not working on yourself. You're so worried about working on other people. But the truth is, you can change everyone else in the world. It won't change you. You're still going to be the same person at the end of the day. Think about that. Before I go, this video was made possible by Ansem, Carlos, David, Leor, Rob. These guys are my highest tiered patrons. These guys are the producers of the show. The show is also brought to you by the fine ladies and gentlemen. You see their names on the screen. If you enjoy this video, please consider supporting the channel. Look for DistroTube over on Patreon. Peace, guys.